Jam-packed Sunday. Sunday.
Beers in space. Space.
Space beers.
Conglomerate companies making games full of bugs. Sunday.
I think that's it for the show. That's it.
Micro transactions.
Loot boxes.
The adult beverages are poured, the kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
And I'm Jeff, and I have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Still in that weird phase, man, because the next few months until September when my other kid turns 5, it's like, oh, you kids have 3 years difference. Like, no, it's just we're in the few months.
Yeah.
while we do it.
So the younger brother will let the other one know. Be like, I'm closing in.
Yeah, I do with my wife. My wife gets mad at me every year because she gets 1 year older than me. So for 1 week a year, it's just like, oh man, you picked him young. You know, you really came in and swooped in for the younger man, huh?
How's the future? Yeah.
One week every year she gets that type of heat. But speaking of heat, what works great in heat is delicious beers, and our summer of beers continues. So we have some great picks, and this week we went with a tiny local one, which if anybody comes to Ontario, you should absolutely... so you'll tell me if it's actually good or not.
Yeah.
And then myself, I picked something that is a bit more international and hopefully available to viewers. So Jeff, this week, summer beers continuing. What are you dipping into?
Yeah, local. So like right in my own neighborhood here out of Oakville, Ontario, Canada, is Cameron's Jurassic IPA. Standard IPA. My kids love the label of it because it looked like Jurassic Park to them. Obviously, it has a T-Rex on the front.
I was very happy with how that sentence ended because it just started with my kids love. I'm like, oh, whoa, Jeff.
No, after this, with the summer of beers that we run here, they help me choose what labels and what region I need to go with.
That's amazing.
They're not allowed to touch it, but
judging a book by its cover, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly, right? Get better art, other beers. No, so I chose this one, and we'll see how it is. It looks pretty strong. It's another strong one that I am not sure I will have a great time with, but we'll see.
Every time, I don't understand
I don't know.
It's every time I visit the store now, it's at 8%, 6%. Like nothing's under 6. Many things are over 8. And it's just we keep creeping up. I think you put it best that it's kind of like a post-pandemic. Just crank it, everybody. It's been some rough years.
Balance it out. That's right. What are you drinking though?
Now, for myself, it was reading the label. It was a combination of many different things that I happen to like. And one of those questions of, will it turn into something delicious? And the answer was yes. Makes me very happy. I'm drinking Rodenbach Classic. So this is from Belgium. And you read the label. It's refreshing. Okay. Belgian. Yep. I like Belgian beer sometimes. Sour. Hey, I like a sour beer. And then ale. That's my favorite type. And then it finishes off with oak aged. And like, wow, that's like refreshing Belgian sour ale oak aged.
That's a lot of things.
Goodness, it's a bunch.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. So like it's almost got like a bit of a honey quality to it, like with the sour kind of fresh Belgian parts of it. So it's like the wheat beer, the lighter, fruitier taste to it. Okay. But then you get this like oak, I don't want to quite say Scotch, but like you can tell like there's this kind of wood finishing to it. They do it for 2 years, which sounds weird for me for a beer, right?
It does. Like what is fermenting in there? So
taste, Jeff.
Taste. That's right.
So, okay. But it's absolutely delicious. So it's got the sour. So it's just, if you like sours, this is right in there. It's like a sour wheat beer almost, and then you got this aging of it that gives us this really weird character as well. So it comes together as a delicious beer. Great for experimenting. Like I think it's the type of thing everyone should give a shot because it's so interesting.
I mean, my kids would never pick this out because the cover of this beer is pretty
very
bare bones there, Trevor. I don't know. It's got a big R and it looks like a pancakes, something underneath of it. It looks like a bunch of pancakes.
It's supposed to be barrels, bud. But
okay, well, looks like pancakes.
Yeah, so no dinosaurs, but delicious beer contained within. So I would recommend it. Rodenbach Classic.
Nice.
Give that one a look. Now speaking of classic, we have a sort of a classic conundrum coming from a very infamous developer. And so Starfield finally released its
trailer.
gameplay trailer.
I was like, finally released a trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were waiting for, everyone's been wondering, like, what on earth is this game? It has been hyped up for so long.
Right.
Like, what are you thinking now that this thing has actually had a chance to be out in the open? Like, what are your thoughts watching?
I mean, I had the same thoughts as pretty much the internet as a whole, where it's just like No Man's Sky Rim. Skyrim. It's just No Man's Sky with Skyrim with a little Mass Effect in there with, like, you know, some combat stuff. I'm like, not a bad thing. Definitely not a bad thing. But we finally get to lay our eyes on this thing because everyone's hyped up for a title. Like, I understand Bethesda is great at what they do, but we're looking at something. I'm like, this is ambitious. This scope is large. So will we see the Bethesda's jank across the solar system? I don't know.
That is so terrifying. It's one, or this isn't an original thought. Like you and I are chuckling about it. The internet's probably all over these takes, but it's they have 1,000 planets, like over 1,000 planets. And it's like, Bethesda, just 100. 100 would be fine. Like, why so many? What on earth is the point? Like, what it'd be good is perhaps if they're crafting 20 amazing planets.
Right.
80 fine, mediocre planets, like somewhat interesting. And then the rest are just blank. Known blank. So it's just when you do find something, it's like, oh, fascinating. This is actually a filled planet with stuff. Because to fill that many areas with jank from Bethesda, with bugs, every square inch Bethesda is another opportunity for you to introduce a bug. Please, just reduce the scope.
Spatial bugs everywhere. Yeah, I watched this thing with my kids, and my kids were just like, Dad, can you change the channel? This looks boring. Wow. And I think it's just no fault of the game. They're just not into this kind of sci-fi nature. And I mean, they see me roam around Elden Ring the entire time that they're with me. But it's just one of these kind of like planetscapes. There's lots of fields, lots of like, oh, like something could be out there, but they're just looking at it and they're like, not for me, Dad. Next game.
Well, it's very grayscale. That's the thing, right?
Is, yeah.
It's very desaturated, which is kind of a shame because like we sort of had turned around a little bit into big, vibrant, fun type of games, and like the thought that they could maybe explore those type of palettes. Although that's really anti Bethesda ultimately. They have like a green filter on everything, right? So I would wonder about you. So if any dads have thoughts about this, I'd love to hear about it. Like Jeff and I are. I'm curious, man. It's gonna be on Game Pass. Like I'd love if this game is great.
Yeah.
But now for your kid though, what I might suggest is if you've seen the game Journey to the Savage Planet.
See, I haven't heard about this one, so this looked neat.
Super tiny scale. I think you're an astronaut stuck on an alien world. Not like breaking the bank on storyline, but it is just like nonsense silly. Like this game is just through and through rip roaring good time. As best I understand, it's a bit Metrovania in the sense that it's slowly parts of the world start to open up as you get various tools and other things like that.
Yep.
But really tight and contained and just uproarious, silly, fun, kind of dumb space action. So I think your kids would be really into this one as opposed to something like Starfield.
Yeah, I'm just even looking at it. It's just a lot more color. A lot more things going on, like even just the weather patterns and just structures of things and lava worlds, whatever. But I might look this one up. That's a good recommendation. I've never heard of this game, which is odd. I thought that there would be a whisper of something in my head, but does not look familiar. So that's good.
I think it was a little bit under the radar for a lot of folks, but I think it's on Game Pass for anyone who's on that side of things. But yeah, I'd recommend for people to check it out. I'm going to as well. So I recommend it having never played it, to be clear. Well, I've only watched I've watched reviews of it, and the comparisons they made for so many people just hit that right note where it's fun, vibrant, it's got a great sense of humor, it's actually funny.
Good.
And it's tight. Like it is a solid, small, great experience. So
Yeah, I'll have to look it up and see what my kids think, because it looks right up their alley where it's just playful, right? And I think that's what they're looking for. So
that's a great one.
Yeah.
Now, so one thing I want to get into a bit is Diablo Immortal. So speaking about games,
oh no,
I wouldn't call this playful, like the other. But the specific issue I had this week, and I'd be curious about your thoughts or recommendations on it, as well as anybody listening. I've been enjoying playing it. This is let's wipe out of your mind for a second that there's this crazy controversy and it's garbage microtransactions, it's exploitative, all those terrible things, right? At this stage, at the very beginning of this, like, it is a great Diablo game. It's a lot of fun. Like, all the quality of it's really top notch, like classic Blizzard. Looting, everything else like that. Like, it's all fantastic, right?
Right.
But I know that just on the other horizon, like just over that way beyond the next turn, is a tsunami of disgusting exploitative microtransactions. Right. So the only worry is like, okay, do I stop? I'm not very far in. Like I'm probably like, call it like 4 hours in total. Barely touched it.
Yep.
But can I get through the game, the campaign, without hitting? What I'm worried about is I'm going to get to like just before the final boss. And to be powerful enough, it's either I grind for like 40 more hours or I pay $3. And that would just so sour me that I almost don't want to continue until I have an answer. So I don't know. I've been reading online, but like just me even saying that, like, what would be your take on, the fact that worries me, is it enough to say you should spend your time elsewhere as a vote of disgust?
Yeah, vote of disgust. I like that. Myself personally, I haven't installed the game, so I've had my fun. I've had my share. I think that there's a good campaign in there somewhere, and I'm almost reminded of like those speed runs where it's like no hit damage. If you do a speed run in this and like no microtransactions, like 0, like I think that would set some sort of dead record on this game. I think you could do it. From what I hear is you can experience the campaign and be fine with it and then just kind of shut it off or uninstall after that. Like, that's it. I'm out. Peace. Bye, Blizzard. Like, you're not getting my money. And if it was something like, hey, you need to spend $10 for the season pass or whatever, kind of like what Diablo does already, just that's what it is for the season. That's what you get. You get all these things and you can continue, and this is where you're going to get. I think most people would be fine with that.
Yeah.
With a free-to-play game, right? Like, I'm buying a season. I get a certain amount of stuff. I experience all these scenarios. We're good. I like it. So I think you could, if you try this and you succeed, like, let me know, because I'll, like, reinstall and go through the campaign, because I, like, quit halfway through. I'm like, I'm getting to a level where it's like, buy all these things and continue. So I'm like,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like, even I'm thinking about hearing you talk about it too. Like, perhaps I could do it. But the fact that it exists at all, just it kind of like sticks in my craw.
Yeah.
And since I have the streaming on my phone, it's almost like, why don't I just play Savage Planet instead?
Well, there you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why not take let's say that it takes me 30. Why not put 30 into Savage Planet, which looks like a absolute riot of a game, right?
Right.
So I think we made a dad decision there. That's very good.
I think, yeah. Yay, we made it on the show. Like, you don't have to go back to it. You're good.
Fantastic. Well, bully to you, Blizzard. Now, it got me into a Diablo. Like, it gave me that taste. It's like, this type of looting thing would be fantastic to get into. And lo and behold, we found a gem not a hidden gem, just a gem.
Just a gem. Okay.
It's worked really well for my kids. And that's Minecraft Dungeons.
Yes.
So I think perhaps people would be forgiven for not trying it, given the other ones, maybe it seems a bit too cartoony. Like, nice try, Minecraft Diablo clone.
Right.
But this game is great, man. Like, it is a lot of fun. It's got, it has seasons. So, if you want to, like, pay for the seasons, get extra rewards, kind of sucks. So be it. There's DLC, but the DLC is kind of classic DLC, as in big, huge missions and worlds that if you're really kind of into the game, then so be it. You can dip in. And at this point, I haven't paid because it's on Game Pass.
Game Pass, yep.
But this is by far the most complicated game my kids ever got into. And both of them too, like the young one as well. Although he's kind of just tagging along. I'll say this: he is a massive drag on our party. Like it's really hard because when you have 3 people,
oh yeah,
they add a lot more
yeah
bad guys, right?
Yep.
And he's not finishing many of them.
Not carrying the weight. Yep, I get it.
He's not helping. So it falls to my son and myself, my oldest and him, and it's just like, but it was a nice moment. The 3 of us are playing together, and we just have to go to the lower levels.
Right.
The second part of it, and this comes to a question. Have you ever spent time like at night, like secretly grinding so you could like keep up with your kid? Because this is now for a couple of weeks been my kid's main focus. So he is well beyond any, because I hadn't really touched it at all. So like, I'm a level 1. He's a level call 20 with his like epic loot, blah, 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 taking me to the far out missions where I'm getting one hit by every creeper on the map.
Yeah.
So I had to spend some time not had to. Like I really enjoyed this game. It's a lot of fun. Cool little story and great loot system. Like it's got that really meaty, enjoyable loot that comes out, much like a Diablo. So, but have you ever spent some time while the kids were in bed, like secretly kind of building up your character so you can try to keep up with the kids?
I mean, okay, so gaming dad's secret. Everybody.
Everybody lean in.
Absolutely happens. Yeah. Because I'm not going to be shortchanged in my level system where I get into a game where my kids want to play and I'm under leveled. I'm constantly dying. Like, oh, I guess I got to carry my dad through this dungeon, right? Yeah. Where I just haven't had the game time to level up where they are. And of course, like you give them a game like this and they just run with it, like you were saying, right? Like they just like burn through like the content. I understand why developers make so much content because kids eat it up, and I don't remember those days at all where I could spend just hours in the same dungeon just leveling and grinding. But I will absolutely spend some time and get my character up to snuff, at least some of the weapons, like where you're just not going in with like level 1 swords and you're like, Stick. I can't kill anything. Here's my ladle, like die. It's not gonna work.
And he kept saying like, let's go to these hard levels. It's like, son, like you've had to revive me like 6 times in the first area. Like get the joke. Like I'm not good enough. We gotta go back. I don't have anything.
No, but this is one game my kids still love. My youngest still wants to play this all the time.
Nice.
And I remember like when this one came out, a lot of people didn't like it, and I don't think they really looked at what it was doing. I mean, maybe they were looking for another Minecraft, maybe Minecraft 2, and it was too close to Diablo for them, and they're like, oh, you're just ripping that off. But it really hits for my kids, and I think this is kind of like those entry level, kind of like what you're saying, where it's just a little bit more complex, and there's a good loot system, and you can buy other things if you want, like a DLC as any other game these days, but it's not in your face for anything else. It's just have fun. If you die, you go back to the start of the level. Like it's not like punishing you in really any big way. So my kids have had a blast.
Well, I'll give you 4 examples, just to like kind of button it. Very generous, because on the one thing, when you die, you get 3 lives. Yeah. Like you and your party get 3 full chances to go, and then like if one of you dies, you can be revived. But if all of your entire party dies, you get 3 of those chances, and they just like brings you back to the beginning of that room as well. So that's super generous. And it even has this, the enchantment system was phenomenal, and especially compared to what we just talked about with Blizzard. Imagine this.
Right.
Because as you get levels, you get enchantments. Yes. So you can you can choose, and each one, this is hilarious. So with your kids, it's like, okay, you have 2 enchantments on this, son. You could either poison somebody, or you can have run around extra fast, like Flash. What do you want? He's like, ooh, he gets to choose one of them. But the amazing thing that they did, which is generous, might be too large a word here, but I'll go with that one, is that when you salvage the weapon, so when you had a level 2 dagger, whatever, and you spent like 6 enchantment points on it to choose extra skills, when you salvage it, it just gives you back the enchantment points.
Stuff.
It just gives you back. Like I was so worried about spending enchantment points, like classic dad gamer, old school gamer. It's like, well, I can't waste enchantments on this low level gear because clearly I'm going to upgrade at some point.
Right.
But they just hand it back to you. It's like, so you can die a bunch of times. You can, like, the loot is constantly upgrading, and anytime if you enchanted something in one way, just salvage it, get all those points back, shove it into your next weapon. So it basically means too that at some point, as soon as you gear up, by the time you tear down your previous one,
Yeah.
you get to just jack it up with full enchantment. It's awesome. That's fun.
That's what more games should be like. You're just respecing all the time.
Yeah.
And I will always think of like Final Fantasy carrying around elixirs my entire life because I'm like, I can't use it. I might need it. And then never using them. So like when things and items and mechanics are used like this, we're like, you can use them anytime you want. Don't worry. It won't cost you a penny. Just like the next thing you get, you put it in. That's perfect. That's what I want. And again, kid friendly. They can do whatever they want, and you just respec it the next weapon.
God, that's such an amazing point. Because, for instance, like your health potion, just time based. It is unlimited health potions. It just there's a cooldown, and same with there's no mana, there's no limitation. So if you have a cool, you get these artifacts, and this one causes an explosion. This one like gives you extra healing. It's all just time based. It's just a cooldown, and you have infinite. You don't need mana or any other kind of consumable for it.
Right.
So great, yeah. So, highly recommended. I think a lot of gamers poo-pooed it when it first came out for a number of reasons. But I'm telling you, if you want to kind of get your Diablo fix, in a fairly deep game, it's fun and it's fairly challenging, and decent systems. Minecraft Dungeons, I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. My kids love it, so nice. It is definitely like a gateway game into other things. So
now, would you, Jeff, recommend Nickelodeon All Stars? Because that's what your household was giving a shot to this week.
Yeah, so we got this on PS Plus. This was the Nickelodeon All Star Brawl, I think it's called. And I'm not saying it's a discount Smash Brothers, but
it would show up in the dollar store.
It wouldn't cross my mind to see this as like deep sale. Just something that it's got that same, everybody's battling each other with characters. You have items on the field. There's different levels. There's different levels to the levels where you can kind of throw each other off and stuff. And again, very much like Smash Brothers, again with its own character roster that some of my kids recognize, and it was weird. It was like this. We balanced each other out. Like I recognize half the characters, like Ren and Stimpy, and like old characters that I knew, even the Ninja Turtles, and my kids recognize their kind of game time where they're like, oh, there's Aang from Avatar and Korra and Phineas and Ferb and stuff. So I think there is a good balance in the character roster, but really weird, like just really weird to deal with. And when Garfield is fighting Ren and Stimpy, you're like, what am I doing? This is like,
oh no, it's Danny Phantom. What?
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Hey kid, remember Cat Dog?
I don't even know what that is. I don't know. Like, again, hilarious. I think it is a good game to build off of. I think this is a great first shot. It really wants, like, do you remember the PlayStation All Stars? They had that game, I think, on PS3. And just all the iconic characters getting in and battling is always a good time. It's just, you really need the mechanic down to, like, really tight and like the controllers are kind of floaty, and a little bit of the movements and even activating some of the powers are like, I don't even know if this works for one character over another character. Like it's not the same. So we had a fun time with it. It's just like, this is not a game that I think will be in the heavy rotation. No. I think this is a good, like, haha, Saturday morning cartoon fun break. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's good to, joke around.
Yeah, maybe on Game Pass or on super discount, but it's really, it's just like, I'm just watching, we're watching a gameplay of it, and it is definitely discount Smash. Like, this does not look quite as tight. Yeah. And the character choices are like the thought that Nickelodeon couldn't pull Aang totally makes sense. The Ninja Turtles totally makes sense.
Yes.
SpongeBob characters
getting there, like it's on the
recognizable. It's a weird context for them to be in. Yeah. Like I get you're just trying to pull from everybody, but again, like if Aang and the Ninja Turtles fight, yeah, of course. Like I get. Well, that's a weird statement for me to say because meanwhile we got Kirby.
I mean, yeah, you go back to Smash, you're like, well, there's Princess Peach fighting, Sephiroth.
Robbie
like,
the
what?
robot, Robbie the robot, or whatever the guy was. Like,
Yeah.
so perhaps that's not a good argument, but just watching the gameplay, it's maybe on discount or Game Pass.
I think that's where it needs to be. Just think that's the space that it's kind of created. So even if it were to introduce kind of a free-to-play system, if it wasn't available on some of those systems, that I think it would succeed there. But my kids, we play this for a couple weekends, and then they went back to Brawlhalla, which is a free-to-play. So I'm not saying that that's totally everybody's experience, but it's just it didn't have the staying power in our household where Smash Brothers did for a full 6 months to a year on that one. Yeah. So
I love that your kids had no reference to what these characters were.
No,
even you didn't have reference to some.
I did not.
It's like, Dad, what is this thing? I don't know, son.
I had no idea on some of them. I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't even know what moveset he would use. I have no idea what this thing is. So,
God damn.
That's okay.
All right. So moving on, though, so this is gonna be good in the bargain section, but you won't need a bargain section much longer for Fall Guys, which free to play is launching very soon. I think June 22nd.
Yes.
Which is funny. It's kind of funny to say that in retrospect, because the question would almost be, what wasn't it always free to play?
Right? Doesn't it feel like it? Like, I know it was on PS Plus. Like, you just got it. Mm-hmm. But other people had to pay, right?
Yeah. Like, so I think PC and otherwise, like, I just had to pay full price. I only ever had the experience with it from PS Plus.
Right.
And appreciated it. Thought it was like a lot of fun. Never did win a round, but
it's like, don't say that. You can go back now.
Well, once it's free, we'll have to give it a couple of shots. But that's right. Seems to draw. I was hoping my kids would have liked it more, and I'll probably try it again. Yeah. When they get into it, I just like it feels like something that they would love, because it's super colorful, super silly, kind of dumb nonsense controls. Like, you just kind of keep on playing to try to get through.
Yes.
So it would seem custom made for a kid with a short attention span. And yet they just kind of was like, let's play Smash Brothers, Dad.
I think in the beginning too, they had very limited map rotation. Like, the courses was somewhat limited, or you play the same one over and over again where it wasn't properly rotated. And I think now it's just grown, kind of like Rocket League was, where it only had a limited number of stadiums, and now they're finally getting up to, a reasonable amount of just originality in some of that stuff, where my kids won't be so bored in between matches, because they did pick this up for a while. They did not, however, like how they're stuffed in with a group and people were mean to them and they would throw them off. So, like, just forewarning for anyone putting their kids in front of this one, like, the online play, like, you have some people that are just going to whip you off one of these rotating discs and throw you to your death.
It is a battle.
Yes, right. So that's the ultimate thing, is there's no team in this. You're running to the end, running to the goal.
But I'm excited to try it. Like, as soon as it comes out again, like, I'd be very much down to give this one another shot. I want to see what it's like. So I'd be curious to see if my kids would get back into it.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to have more people even just play this, right? Like, free to play opens it up a lot. I'm wondering if they're going to ever have a mobile version of this. Just like the stuff they can do on mobile now. We talked about Diablo Immortal and Fortnite. This is totally one that could go on a phone. I'm not saying it would be the best thing, but it would definitely open it up. Man,
that would be a good game on mobile. This would be stunning on mobile. This is such a perfect fit.
Pick up and play and just have a couple matches, right?
Yeah.
Quick 10-minute Lose them match. All, but
never win. But still,
never win. You can play it.
Throw your phone across the room. Classic gaming before bed.
Exactly. Yes, the dad experience, the gaming dad experience there.
Speaking of getting to bed, that's a good time for us to end it off for the night. Action-packed show. My goodness. Starfield, Journey to the Savage Planet, Diablo Immortal, Minecraft Dungeons, Nickelodeon All Star Brawl, and Fall Guys free to play. That is a lot of games.
That's a lot of games. We are busy this past couple of weeks. I don't know.
Not to mention a couple beers.
That's right.
So for the beers of the week, we had Rodenbach Classic and the Jurassic Pale Ale from Cameron's Brewing.
Yes.
And as we wrap up the show, we will call out 4 beer picks, but we'll get to that. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. If you want to get a hold of us, if you have a beer pick, like I just mentioned, if you had your own experience with Savage Planet or your own thoughts on Diablo Immortal from a dad's perspective, did you play Minecraft and have some hot gaming tips for myself and my sons? We'd love to hear from you. The interacting with the fans has been by far one of the greatest things, and we definitely work it into the show as it comes about. And beer picks for the entire summer we're definitely still looking for, so reach out to us. You can find us at our website, newdadgaming.com, or at newdadgaming. What really helps out is if you subscribe to the show. So if you like the podcast, we're on all the major podcasting networks. So we're talking iTunes, Spotify, Caster, Google Play, anywhere where you get your podcast, just search for New Dad Gaming. What really helps the show and helps to boost the signal out is if you subscribe, and especially if you leave a comment. We would be so amazingly grateful for it, and especially just send us a shot. We're happy to give you a shout out on the show for anything you have going on. If you could leave us a review, we'd really appreciate it as we get out to as many gaming dads as possible. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. Until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old.
And remember, just because you became a dad
does not mean it's game over.